Hello, class. So I'm probably going to pause and start recording, but I had an idea. I was talking to my son. Oh, this is terrible. And we're talking about pair programming. So I want to bring him on, and he's going to talk about pair programming and what it's used for. He's going to go through it, and then once he's done with that, I'm going to talk to you all on what I'm looking to do on your assignments, your lab assignments, not the work, but your lab assignments. Okay. So I'm going to pause this. When he comes on, I'll start back recording, but you won't know because it's paused. Did it pause? Did it pause?
All right, do I look crazy?
No, you look good. So you all, he's made it in. This is Leandre Foster. He is, I'm proud to say he is my son. He has a bachelor's in computer. He has his bachelor's in not computer science. I'm the one with the bachelor's in computer science. He has his a dual degree in electrical engineer and physics. He's been a software developer a little over 10 years now, or going to 10 years.
Going on 11.
Huh?
11 in July.
Okay. Are you covering up your mic?
I don't know. Is it at the
Yeah, you
bottom or
was.
something?
You was covering up your mic.
Okay, that's probably the way I was holding it there.
Okay.
Okay.
So you said going on 10 years or over 10 years. I'm trying to remember.
It's going on 11. I came down here in July of 2012.
So it's going on 11
So
years. So
going on 11
over
years.
10 years of writing code. So the other day we were talking about, he was talking, we always talk shop. We were talking about, and he was telling me about pair programming. I was honored to see him in action over the winter break with his team. So I want to let you all know why my yours look all clearer than mine. That's crazy. But I
That's
so
Galaxy right there. Galaxy action right there. That's it.
so I wanted to bring this on to you because I want to end up also for you all to get experience in this. And I'm trying to figure out how to work with this with your labs. This is going to be for my C++ as for my Python class. So I want him to explain what pair programming is. They're using it in the industry and how they end up doing it. So you might end up hearing some lingo. I guess they have the driver, the navigator, but listen to what he's going to say on when they're doing pair programming. And it's good to get into practice of what you're going to do in the class, because I think I'm going to implement this in some of the labs as well. So go ahead, Mr. Foster. Are you going to look up the different terms?
I was trying to. I was just looking for something.
Okay, so go ahead.
Oh, okay. So you want to give me like an overview or something?
Yeah, overview what
Yeah.
pair programming is. What do you do? Remember you were talking to me, you was telling me how you had somebody, they come in and you all
Okay,
look
I
at
got
the
you.
code, a typical session, a typical pair programming session.
Okay, so I know that at my previous employer, we didn't do too much pair programming. It was kind of just a word that was kind of thrown around. So when we actually did it, we really didn't know what we was doing. It was just two people kind of like, okay, we're doing this, and I don't know, we didn't do it right. I guess where I work now, you pretty much pair program almost every day, depending on how everyone gets paired off. But for the most part, um, when you're programming, like the way that we have it set up is there's one person who's anchoring the story, which means that person is always on that story. And the story, I don't know if y'all familiar with like Agile, they call them stories or maybe issues, but it's basically a functionality that you want to get done. And you point these stories. I don't know how familiar you are with Agile, but there's these things called stories. Some people call them issues, but it's basically like a chunk of code or a chunk of functionality that they want you to do in a small amount of time. Usually take uh 2 weeks at the most. Some of them take like a few hours. And you point them accordingly. So the higher the points are, the higher, uh, the more time it'll take, and or the more difficult it is to do.
So I guess I
So
can
if you have
say,
like a 3 point story,
go ahead.
like,
I said, so I can
so if you
just,
have
it
like a
can
three
be,
point story or something, like that Geico commercial. All right, so say for instance you got like a 3 point story, and it's estimated it's gonna take you about 4 to 5 days to do. If I'm the anchor of the story, that means I'll be on the story the whole life of the story. So depending on how we get paired, so say for instance I pick up the story today and I'm working on it with someone. And if I'm anchoring the story, I'm gonna stay on that story. And when we pair again, like tomorrow or the next couple of days, they're gonna go to another story that someone else is anchoring on. So I'll probably end up pairing with like 3 people during the life of the story. And I guess that's why I have like its advantages as well. Because if I'm doing it with 3 different people, I'm gonna get three different three different perspectives, including mine. And I actually know what's going on from the beginning. So when I'm pairing with someone that's new to this actual story or this functionality that I'm changing, I'll explain exactly what I'm doing with the story, like explain what we need to do. Like say for instance, they say we need to add these 2 fields on this page and validate that it's numeric and it can only be 5 numbers or something like that. Then when you press submit, save it to the database and validate it on the back end as well, just in case it doesn't come from the front end, it comes from like a service or API call. So if that's the case, and I started on the story already, when a person gets here, I'll go to the page, pull up the application, show them exactly what it is, what field they're talking about, what they're doing, so they can at least have like a visual of it and a note of why behind the actual story before you even like dive into the code. Then to probably go to these specific files, let them know exactly what I changed, why I changed it, my thought process behind it, and where are we gonna go moving forward. Like, okay, I still have to make these tests. I had problems here because of this, and so forth. So they usually generally probably take about an hour or so to like just get if it's a new person like caught up on everything that you've been doing and the purpose of what you're doing and why you're doing it. So from there, you just move around and usually it's the driver and the passenger. So usually like we'd be like in a Zoom meeting, something like this. I'll share my screen and I'll be actually doing the typing and moving from file to file, and actually the driver of it. And the other person is the passenger, so they're just watching what's going on, and they'll ask questions as we're going along, make suggestions, say stuff like, "Okay, scroll up the line 450. I seen something there," or just another set of eyes to actually go on with it. So that's why I say it's a good practice if you have like multiple people looking at it, because at the end of the day, once the story is done, your name is on it and you're the one anchoring the story, but it was really about 4 or 5 people that actually had their hands in it. So
I was, I was thinking
that takes away
about,
from code review.
I was thinking about when you said that, so when we have students working on their code, so say for instance, I have 2 students and they end up stuck. They end up being stuck on code when they're trying to write the assignment. So pair, I'm trying to figure how I can end up also having students work on it and practice doing pair coding. And I'm trying to say, okay, you have students working on the code, or I can have somebody who's done the code already correctly, and then the one who has not done the code correctly, and they get together and work together and try to figure out the code, or they might have issues on trying to figure out the code. So say for instance, the class, they know how to do if, thens, else, and all that stuff, and they have to write a
a function. They have to write a function on a particular lab. So I was thinking about having them look because it's based on syntax, like you were saying. Okay, look at this. Why don't you have this deconstructor? Why don't you have this variable correct? You're missing a semicolon. So, like you said, a second set of eyes, but still practicing with pair coding on as they move through.
Mm. Yeah, like and yeah, like it's basically that second pair. And sometimes you want them to drive as well. So some like say for instance, this is your first time pairing with me. I explain everything to you. I start driving. I let you know. If we pair the next day, I probably like, okay, since you know what this is now. You done pulled down the code, my changes and everything. Now, how about you drive today? So they can actually get into the code and be hands on with it. I know a lot of people like have to be like they learn more or understand it better when they're actually touching it. They're actually the ones touching the code rather than actually just watching it. Or it could be like, okay, I'll drive in the morning time and you drive after lunch, or something like that. Like to just try to like keep the other person engaged as well.
And you
And
said,
it cuts off.
when we were talking the other day, you were talking about it's like most of the time the coding, yeah, most of the time analyzing and troubleshooting as well. Can you break that down as well?
Yeah, like so when you doing the code and yeah, like as a software engineer, you probably go less than 20% is going to be actual coding. Like so you probably have it's probably 20% of the times you probably analyzing it. Probably like 10% actually doing the code. Um, it's gonna be a lot of tests. And if it's a current application and it's a big application, if you make any changes, you're probably gonna break some tests as well. Um, like I just said, like say for instance, I say add these two fields and validate them. So if I'm validating these fields, that means when I press the send button, that's gonna fail because it's valid. It wasn't validating at first. Now it's validating. So you have to add that validator to a specific code, or then you have to have your breaking test when it's supposed to break, and the errors that's supposed to come up and things of that nature. So once you like write the test, um, test can be pretty complex as well, depending on exactly where you're doing it at and exactly what you're testing. So we have to do front end tests and back end tests. So they get a little confusing. Um, I wasn't a good. I'm not gonna say a good, but I didn't do too much front end developing at my old job, and I don't have that much experience in it. So that's another perk up code programming as well, because I paired with some people who done all front end work and no back end work. So it kind of like sharpens your skills on that end too, and give like another level of expertise that you may not have yourself. So that's a good another thing to have it multiple eyes looking at it. And then it cuts down on code reviews as well because I mean 3, 4 people in like on the team have had their eyes on it. So if there was anything wrong, I'm pretty sure somebody would have got it at the time. Now if it's very, very complex code, like we'll take it up with the tech lead. I mean it's usually not it's usually not is it right or is it working right? Because like any developer would probably get something to work right. Is it designed the correct way? Is it reusable? If something else similar like this happened, did you make it so it's dynamic and make it easier going forward? So those be the main questions that we ask. Um, on certain things when it comes to the code, but usually like if it's 3, 4 people that looked at it, like it should be pretty solid.
Okay.
And
All right.
so then so that's saying like if I was the person anchoring the story. Now if I wasn't someone anchoring the story, say for instance tomorrow someone else is anchoring the story, I'll be on the other side at that point. So I'll come in see what they're talking about, see what's going on. And it kind of keeps everybody in the loop as well on different things going on. Because if one person working on this, one person working on this, if you got 5 people working on 5 different things, you probably just so focused on yours and not seeing the big picture. You don't even know what this person working on or that person working on, and that, so like you kind of lose the big picture of the entire application and what's going on with stuff. So it kind of give you a way to like hit different pages, and the more stories you're on, the more you understand the code. So it gets to a point where it's like okay, I've been on this page before. This is this. This is this. This is this. Because you been on, you looked at 5 different stories over the past 2 weeks. So it's better than just being on one story for 2 weeks and you just know this specific thing, you know? But yeah, so like it's good at a point where, well, one, you're not like by yourself all the time. Sometimes we might just say like, okay, if you want to do this, not do this. And like, cause certain people don't like working with people. And like, and certain times I work by myself as well. Like there may be like an odd number of people there. People are sick, people have meetings to go to, things like that. So it be times where like you don't have a pair, it's just you. So you still have your alone time as well, but most of the time you will be paired with somebody. And on Friday we have something that they call enablement time, that like no one pairs. You kind of just but where you can work on work that you didn't finish, but it's supposed to be used for like self-improvement. Say fans, you're not that good at React, you could take up some React classes. If you're not good on the back end or different things, or you just want to research different technologies or things that you heard coming down the pipeline, things that's coming in the future, like, okay, WebSockets, what is this? Let me look it up. But usually throughout the week, I hear a word or hear something, or someone to tell me about something, and I just write it down. And then on Friday, I do a little research on it. And sometimes it comes in handy, sometimes it don't, but it doesn't hurt.
Doesn't hurt. All right. Thank you. I appreciate your time. I'm going to stop recording. I figure I'd do it right.
Love you, mommy.